Whoop. Morning, Mr. Herndon.
Good morning.
We're here to talk to Mr. Terry Herndon, who is retiring from North Sumner Elementary after how many years?
32.
32 years here at North Sumner Elementary. And we wanted to take this opportunity just to talk to him about his time at North Sumner and just sit down and talk to him a little while. So, Mr. Herndon, of course, you and I, we've known each other for a long time, and I worked for you for 14, 15 years. We've had a lot of talks about football and life and kids. And I know the story, but a lot of people don't know the story of how you ended up here at North Sumner. So tell us about it.
Well, timing has been really good for me in my life. For somebody who was kind of at first wondering if they'd ever get a chance, my chances did come. And, it's like this. I interviewed with Glenn Gregory in January of 1976 for an assistant coaching job at Portland, which they did not have a position open, so they could not recommend me. I interviewed with Mr. Jimmy Wheely in Macon County for assistant coach, and that didn't work out. Fortunately, both were great for me because Frank Ruckman became the principal at Westmoreland High School, who I student taught under, and that opened the door for me, and I became an assistant coach, and then the next spring I became the head coach of the undefeated, soon to be undefeated 1977 Westmoreland Eagles. So that was timing, because if I'd have gone to Portland or if I'd gone to Macon County, I would have never been the head football coach at Westmoreland High School. So that was one step. I got out of coaching and I sold insurance for a year. I wasn't cut out really to be an insurance salesman, but I needed a break and I made a living at it. And then when I came back in, I was at Hawkins Junior High for only 1 year. And I turned down an assistant coaching job at Beach, all right, which once again, I had a window of opportunity open. Merrill Hyde hired me, recommended me to be assistant principal in 1985 after I turned the assistant coaching job down earlier that year. That's a window of opportunity. Why he hired me, there were no politics. I don't know, but I sure am glad he did. And I worked hard for him. We became good friends. And fortunately for me, he got elected superintendent in 1988. So I had earned the privilege of being promoted to North Sumner, okay? But only because I had earned that. Mr. Hyde put a lot of stock in loyalty and hard work, and that's what I tried to do. But I tried to do that with everybody I worked for. But in 1990, he promoted me to be principal of North Sumner Elementary School, and I'd been at Beach High School for 5 years. a challenging job. I did discipline for 4 of those 5. and knowing me, knowing me the way you do now over the years, I'm really, you kind of got to be a bad guy when you do discipline. So I did it. I can't say that I enjoyed every day of it because I wasn't really used to dealing with unmotivated people, But anyway, that was a stepping stone to come here. When I became the principal here, the first day I drove up Dobbins Pike as the official principal of North Sumner to meet John Holder, who was a friend of mine, but he was leaving. I was going to take his place. But I promise you, and I've told this many times, I sang and I shouted all the way up Dobbins Pike. I was so happy to come up here.
Yeah.
And Mr. Holder was kind enough to meet with me and tell me, what he had planned if he was going to stay and so forth. And he gave me 2 little note sheets of what he had planned. There were 10 items, and number 10 was order Cokes and ice cream. I made copies. I didn't find them. I've got it right here. But I made copies of this a few years ago for one of our meetings, and all the central office personnel in there. I think it was a budget meeting. Dr. Phillips in there, and I made copies, and I said, now I'm gonna give y'all something, but don't look at it until everybody has a copy. So I did. I said, okay, turn them over, and they read it, and the smile started, and the laughter started. I said, yeah, order Cokes and ice cream. It's that easy now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was a good day. I was so happy to come up here. This is what I wanted. I wanted to be an elementary school principal. I enjoyed raising my son so much. He was only 9 years old when I came here, and we were not going to have any more children. So I figured the only way I could ever get that again was to work with young kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have gone back to Beach High School in 1999 as the principal, and Mr. Hyde let me make that decision, and I have not regretted it, not 1/2 a second of my life. I loved it here. I did not want to go, and he supported that. But North Sumner, when I walked in here, the parking lot was gravel. The school was heated by a coal furnace. We had, as Bobby Leon Thompson used to call them, window shakers,
Yeah.
air conditioners.
Mm-hmm.
We had 8 classrooms, 3 portables on the end. We did not own what we owned in property back then. A lot has changed, to say the least. Like you asked me about Westmoreland High School, what it looked like the first day I came. I said, it sure didn't look like it does now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same way with North Sumner, because we still have the old part of the building. But in 1995 or early 96, Mr. Thompson called me, and he said, Mr. Herndon, I'd like to set up a meeting with you at your convenience. And so we set up a time. I think it was a Friday afternoon, and he came. He said, I'm going to bring a mutual friend. So he brought Mr. Hyde with him that day. And he said, you know, Mr. Herndon, the county is getting ready to spend a lot of money on the building program. Now, we don't want it all, but we just want our little piece of the pie.
Yeah.
That's what he did. So he got you, Martha Creasy, and one other, and I cannot remember who it was, but you got 3 people. We met right here in my office. He told you what he wanted y'all to say at the commission meeting as well as the Board of Education meeting, and y'all did that, and we got our little piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1997, we were totally renovated. The furnace gone, modern air and heat. We got new windows, really nice, and then we got 6 new classrooms, the library, restrooms. So our little piece of the pie is here. We got 8 more classrooms 4 more in 08, excuse me. But you know, I attribute a lot of North Sumner still being here to Bobby Leon Thompson, because I really believe, had we not gotten the renovation and the addition at that time, there was always that possibility that it would be closed.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Thompson has passed now, but always remember Bobby Leon Thompson, because we're still here.
Yeah. I remember when we were having trouble with the furnace, and you and I went to one of the board meetings, and you know how it used to smoke up the hallway?
Yeah.
And we spoke on how, you know, it was just terrible to deal with. And I remember one of the board members asked me the most profound question. Well, just what is the problem with coal heat? Yeah, well, the furnace is 1,000,000 years old, and you try walking down the hallway with black soot. Yeah.
I come in some mornings, and back then I parked out front because you had to come through that nice lounge we have now.
Yeah.
I parked back there and walked through that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, but back then I always parked out front. But I'd come in, and as I turned the corner, a lot of mornings you couldn't even see the doors at the end of the hall for the smoke.
For the smoke, yeah.
And it was quite interesting. I'd say now when I come in and they're eating lunch, I say, you know, nobody ate lunch here in this room when I got here. And of course, 1 or 2, like Lisa Keith, who was a student of mine at Westmoreland, and I was fortunate enough to be able to hire her several years ago. She said, well, that's because it was a furnace room back then. I said, that's exactly right, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, the young ones have not a clue about stuff like that. They really don't.
No.
But I didn't have a clue about a lot of things when I was in my 20s either about the history of the schools and so forth and so
Mm-hmm.
on. But that's where we started, and now we've got such a beautiful school, and the addition to the campus in somewhere between 2002 or 3. Mr. Hyde was the director, and Mr. Herbert Brown up here, he had passed by that time, but his son Pete came down and he spoke with me. He said, Mr. Turner, we're going to give the school system one last chance to buy this land, or we're going to start developing it. So I called Mr. Hyde, and he came up and he said, we want that 5 acres right there. So expansion,
Mm-hmm.
you had to have a septic system. It had soaked up all it could over the years prior to that, because we had field lines on top and underneath field lines where they had tried to take care of it. But now you've got 5 acres back there. You've got a pavilion. You've got a walking track. You got a basketball court. You got a playground. All that good stuff, and that's what's transpired over 32 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that a lot of people don't know of all the improvements that have went on under your tenure. Like you said, the pavilion. I remember when we were working toward new playground equipment. Things you didn't just you don't just ask for. You have to sort of work towards sometimes. The building. Painting, retiling. If someone hadn't been in North Sumner in a long time, they walk in, they're going to go, wow. And the community doesn't know, but that is in large part thanks to you and your vision and your hard work. And North Sumner owes an awful lot to the things that you have put in place for North Sumner to be here for a long time to come, for families to send their children to. And as I like to say, North Sumner's the best kept secret in Sumner County.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that. Those very kind words. I think, I know over the years I have hired people who I thought were good fits. Sometimes not a lot, but it didn't work out. But that's going to happen any school that you're at. But right now, and over the years, I've hired some wonderful people that have contributed so much to what I wanted done here.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Rippey is responsible for getting the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
She got the money donated. Jason and his buddies built it. The county came in and did the concrete, the sidewalk, the pad, the water, all that good stuff. So we've had a whole lot of help. And I know another person I visited with the first day I was here was Scott Rippey. And I knew Scott from my Westmoreland days because I'd coached James through he came back out before his senior year and was really a star player on the 1980 team.
Mm-hmm.
But Scott stood out front and he had his John Deere cap on and he leaned over against that wall and he said, Mr. Herndon, all these people up here want you to treat them right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what my mom and daddy taught me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to do that.
Yeah.
And it shows. You get a lot more when you show people the respect and you treat them the way you want to be treated. You get that in return.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've told teachers for years. The maintenance people, the bus drivers, they're not our servants. They don't work for us. They work with us.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to treat them that way. And there's not a maintenance guy or gal in this county that wouldn't tell you that we don't ever mind coming to North Sumner.
Mm-hmm.
And that I was told that just a few years ago, and I truly I can see that vision has that is where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
And you get more that way anyway. And I've enjoyed the job immensely, and like I say, it's kind of a difficult choice to step down, but it does come that point in time in everybody's life where you need to move on, I guess. I know my wife, I were flying into Cancun a few Novembers ago, and I was talking with this guy on the plane. Of course, I have a hard time talking with people. So we struck up a conversation, and he told me when he retired, and I told him what a wonderful job I have, and how much I enjoyed it and all that. And he looked me in the eye. He said, "You know, you can't stay forever, don't you?" And I said, "I know."
Mhm.
So,
Well, what are some of your plans for retirement? Have you thought about it?
well, I guess I better start doing that, hadn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I think there's, as much as I've enjoyed the job, as you look forward to what you've got to do, I don't have to do it anymore. And that's one of the most exciting things, is knowing that there are things you don't have to do.
Mhm.
And I'm excited about some of that. Not that I did when I was 30 years ago. What choice did I have? You know, and I
Mhm.
didn't mind it, but at this point in time in my life, with the way education has changed, there are new programs I really don't want to learn at this point in time. I don't want to have to implement them. So it's time for somebody younger to come
Mhm.
in, that, like I was when I was 40 years old, um, get it done and be enthusiastic. And I'm still enthusiastic about the job, but it's just things that you don't have to deal with
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. You've worked with some amazing people over the years. Miss Lavelle Black,
Mm-hmm.
who passed not too awful long ago, it was a year or something like that. Um, and Miss Margaret Cole, she was
Mm-hmm.
here for 40 something years.
Probably.
Yeah. Miss Frances Gillespie, who is getting ready to retire also. Do you have any favorite memories of some of your faculty or something?
Well, I've had three wonderful secretaries, Miss Kay Emerson
Oh yeah.
and Tracy Graham, and now Kelly Perry. I've had wonderful attendant clerks and secretaries and friends in Jean Stafford and Angela Thornton. Just wonderful personnel, or
Mhm.
people. I don't want to call them personnel, that's impersonal, but wonderful people to work with, and willing to go that extra mile to help not only me, but anybody in the school.
Yeah.
Um, Other people, Lord, like we were talking about naming players. I didn't write anything down, and so I came back and did that. I did them, on our football
Mhm.
interview. But once again, you start naming people, and you
Yeah.
leave somebody
You
out.
lose
And
some. Yeah.
once again, I say that's never my intention. But I work Mary Sue Graves,
Mhm.
Denning. I'm sorry, and then Sue Graves. Sandy Brown,
Mhm.
wonderful. But Regina Foley, who was a student of mine in
Mhm.
Westmoreland. I've had quite a few former students, most of them at Westmoreland, but I have uh, Joe Saunders, the art teacher. I had him at Beach High School.
Yeah.
And I have three generation families now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known the Rippies longer than the kids have known the Rippies,
Yeah.
that are Rippies.
Yeah.
And that's really a good thing. I think you're a three generation family.
Mhm. Yeah.
I know you are. And, you know, you got to have help to get things done, and you try to have as good a rapport with everybody as you possibly can. Of course, I've already said Merrill High gave me my opportunities. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
Mhm.
Then I worked, let's see, Merrill came back in as director in 97, and then Mr. Beals came in, who I had a great relationship with. Dr. Phillips, we hit it off from the first day I met him. He's a former coach like I am, and we our personalities meshed, and he knew, or he saw quickly that we had it going.
Mhm.
I say we didn't cause him any trouble. He gave me a great compliment last spring, and not meaning to, I don't think, at first, but he sent me a text and wanted me to check some situation out, and I responded back. I said, I'll check it out, and I'll get back with you." And immediately he responded, "You don't have to get back with me. I know you'll handle it."
Mhm.
That's a tremendous vote of confidence.
Yeah.
And the relationship I've had with him, I had to build that. I knew Mr. Beals when I was in high school. he started down there, and then I met Merrill. I mean, when he hired me at Beach, we were not friends necessarily. We were not enemies. We knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
But we developed a great friendship. I told Dr. Phillips how much I appreciated how good he had treated me over the years. I said, because when we met, you didn't know me from that chair over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he saw quickly that we had a good thing going here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm going to try to interject some things before I forget them. I had a friend of mine named Chris Hooper. He's an educator in Summit County, but a few years ago we were playing golf one day. He said, Terry, I'm going to apply for your job when you retire. And I laughed. I said, well, Chris, you and about 50 other people. Mm-hmm. And we laughed. And I told Dr. Phillips about that within the week I saw him. And he laughed real big. He said, hey, Coach, when you decide to hang it up, there'll be no shortage of candidates over summer.
Yeah.
And I think, I know it's because of what I and we and my teams that I put together over the years have put together and made it such a special place.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously I'm partial, but I do think it's the best school in Summit County. Mm-hmm. And we have many great ones, but North Sumner is a special place.
Mm-hmm. It definitely
and
is.
You can't be, I said this, and this statement I made about many fine people that I knew before it ever applied to me. You take Jimmy Lee Brown, you take Bobby Timmons, you take Paul Decker, you take Dan Herron, you take Dwayne Oldham, and so forth and so on. And I said, you can't stay somewhere in one job at one school for 25 years unless you've made a whole lot more people happy than you made sad. Mm-hmm. And that was before it applied to me. And obviously after 32 years, I hit that mark 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we've had some rough times. Test score war. I didn't say battle, I said war.
Yeah.
Whew, that's all I would tell you. That's when my hair started falling out. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I used to have enough, and it was black too. I like that. But I'd use gel, and I'd do this, and then all of a sudden I'm noticing what's going on here. Because I thought I was going to be moved to be the nighttime custodian at Millersville, or the assistant nighttime custodian. But Mr. Bills and Judy Wheeler stuck with me, and then they helped us get what we needed to get the job done. They got us our first computer lab. Because, we didn't have a world of money up here. And so they bought us 25 laptops, and we wore them out.
Oh, I remember us when Daddy was still custodian here. When we got our first shipment, when we used the PTO money to buy the big computers, new computers, how we worked hard raising money, trying to PTA, whatever, to get new computers. And what a big deal that was for us, Probably other schools didn't have that problem, but we had to work hard and raise our money to get those computers. And I remember the truck. I think I actually have a newspaper clipping of Daddy out here with the box truck unloading the computers that we worked on. And we were proud. We were thrilled to death, We've worked hard. I think a lot of people have worked hard and contributed to help North Sumner,
Well, they have, and no one person is responsible for all that. I have been the leader, and I've had a lot of wonderful people work with me.
Is that Casey?
That is the summer before we open the new wing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's Jack Linville standing with me right outside the entrance up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't find stuff. I've always had it.
Yeah.
I don't forget much of anything other than when I'm trying to recall names in an interview like this, and I do leave some people out. But leadership teams, I remember there's just so many. Margaret Cole was wonderful. Martha Creasy.
Yes, Miss Martha.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Francis Gillespie. Joanne Bearden. Amanda Rippey has been wonderful. I hired her 2002, I think, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she called me. I was sitting here, summertime, had shorts and t-shirt on. She called me, wanted to know when would be a good time for me to drop off, for her to drop off a resume. I said, well, I'm here today if you want to come on. she said, well, Mr. Herndon, I've been working for the city of Portland and I've been teaching swimming lessons. I just got out of the pool. I said, well, throw something on and come on because I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to go play golf tomorrow. So she did. She said, are you sure? I said, I wouldn't tell you if I didn't mean it. So she came around the corner there and she had her hair up. She said it was green, but obviously she was appropriately dressed for casual, and she came around that corner. She said, now I took you on your word that this would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I told you I'm sitting here in shorts and a t-shirt, so let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed with her, and we had a hiring freeze that summer. And because Mr. Hyde and I were very close friends, I went in and talked with him about that. Mr. Hyde normally didn't get involved with who he wanted you to hire, but that summer he had 3 gals he wanted to have jobs. And they were from Westmoreland, and Westmoreland's a wonderful place. Y'all know how I feel about it, but Bill Johnson, who used to be the principal of Bethpage, and I had not had a lot of success with the Westmoreland girls because they did a great job, but as soon as they got tenure, Jimmy Lee would hire them back to the elementary school. So we got tired of training them.
Yeah.
And so I told Mr. Hyde that story, and he said, you go ahead and hire her. I'll find a place for the others. And I did say this that day. I said, Mr. Hyde, I really like this young lady. I think she'll be a great fit for my team. I can't guarantee she'll stay forever, but she lives close to school, and I think she'd be really good. And then he told me, he said, just go ahead and hire her. And it's 20 years later, and still here.
A lot of people also don't know, you stand out front and you greet the kids every morning, which I think you're the only principal in Sumner County who actually does that, as far as I know. And I asked my grandson about that, and I said, how do you feel, Mr. Herndon, doing that every morning? How did that always make you feel? And he said, I always appreciated it so much because I knew that Mr. Herndon knew who I was, and I knew when I went in the building that Mr. Herndon was going to take care of me and keep me safe. What made you start doing that?
I guess because I was so happy to get here, because I wanted it to be the best place it could be. You may have been at the very first meeting that I had, and it wasn't a whole lot of parents. I remember Sandra Eskew and her husband were here, and just a few others. But I told them that my vision, my goal for North Sumner would be a place where teachers want to come and teach and where you want to send your kids. And that was my goal and still is. And I think we have accomplished that over the years. For the most part, you're going to have some people that didn't quite fit in. But that happens. You can't, Stan Musial and Ted Williams didn't bat 1,000. So sometimes people aren't work out, but overall, you're just very fortunate to get people of that caliber to come in and do the job and all that. And so to answer your question, I've loved doing that. Like I told you, I love kids, and I don't remember from the day one that I came here in 1990 that I stood at the front door. I would say pretty much so, because I had to tell the bus drivers when it was time to let them off. Because when I first got here, there was not a lot of structure to that. So and this is not a negative on the drivers by any means, but they had routes to run, but we couldn't go to class at 8 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock we were 8 to 3 school, but they were dropping the kids off here before 7 o'clock. We had to wait on the buses coming from Portland and Westmoreland before we could dismiss. Nobody went anywhere. But I finally got it down to a time but it was going to be my time, and when you could let them off, because there was no reason for any elementary kid to sit in the gym for an hour before they go to class. I mean, you tell a kindergartner, say, get your book out and read. Yeah. So we got that worked out, and then so that was early on. I'd say I've been doing that most of the time I've been here. But once again, I guess at first I was just on my own out there, and then Martha was the person who stood out there with me,
Mm-hmm.
and then Frances took over from there,
Mm-hmm.
and Frances has been my designee for several years, and Amanda is welcome to join us out there in the morning. And I do tell people this. I say, that's something I like to do, and I want to help you. If it's an emergency, you can approach me. I'm not unapproachable by any means,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's not an emergency, let it wait till after I've greeted the children and their parents and so forth, and make announcements, and I will be happy to talk with you about that.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been a time or two where I had to remind some people, say, what about leave me alone in the morning? Do you not understand? Because it's not that, once again, that I didn't want to help you, but it wasn't an emergency, and I want to be out there where I can enjoy the kids coming in and all that.
Yeah, it's very obvious that the children really enjoy you being there. You get some of them high fives, and some of them aren't quite awake, and I think you had a nickname for Dylan. I don't remember what it was right offhand, but they enjoy that. Another thing a lot of people don't know about you is that you're pretty adamant about keeping up with your former students and their accomplishments from North Sumner and from Westmoreland. You enjoy doing that an awful lot, don't you?
I do. The other day, I was very honored when Brian Carter and his family and his son James, they had called in Channel 5 and recognized me as one of as his hero, which I was very appreciative of that. But I had that very day a kid that I coached at Knox Doss Junior High School, Jimmy Howell. He texted me that he'd saw that and all that good stuff, and I had some. Now that's 1974. How long ago was that?
Yeah.
That's 48 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen him off and on over the years, so we've stayed somewhat close over the years. But things like that, you keep up with this one, that one. If I see an article in the paper, I try to acknowledge that with them. I sent Roger Holmes, number 10 up there on the wall. Most valuable player in Class A ball in 1977, a junior at Westmoreland High School. Still holds a record that is still on the books along with Tony Trout from that year. But I saw a picture yesterday. I was on the Tennessean website, and it scrolled back 1972, 50 years ago. So I'm scrolling down through there, and I see this young lady in a picture, and it took me a minute to say, where do I know her from? And then I realized her name is Rachel, and she's married to Mike Keene, who is Roger's uncle. And so I text Roger, I said, is this your aunt, Mike's wife? And he texted me back and he said, yes, sir, and so I got tickled at that, because I'm going to tell you, I have a tremendous long-term memory. And I might not remember where I'm going when I get up to walk out the office sometimes anymore, because you just get so much in your mind. But as far as remembering things that happened, as you know from talking with me, I can tell you a lot of football plays that happened. I know.
Yep.
I used to. Gerald Tidwell unfortunately passed away a year ago. He's a wonderful guy, principal at Warren County Middle School. Had been a former coach and one of my players, and in 1982 he made a heck of a play against Trousdale County. Made them cough the ball up. We took possession, ran the clock out, and won the game. Knocked Trousdale County off. We finished 4-1 in the district. I thought for a long time a 5-5 team you didn't consider very good, but then when you consider you were 4-1, you tied for the district championship. That was a good football team. But Gerald would tell me, he said, Coach, I don't remember that play. I said, Gerald, how can you forget that play? It won the game for us, But and he asked me a couple times, Coach, how do you remember all that? I said, I just do. And that's not just true of Westmoreland football. That's things that happened here. I've got some pictures here, and I didn't find them. I've always had them of some of our more challenged children who I really liked when they were little boys and little girls. One of them, I know my name was brought up in Food Line one day for whatever reason. A friend of mine, was in line, and I don't know, I can't remember, that was a long time ago, the circumstances of it. But this child went over to her and said, "You know Mr. Herndon?" She said, "Yeah, we're very good friends." And he used to bust my tail every day. And I said, "That's not true. That's not true at all." I said, "Maybe once a week because he had to have that dose of medicine."
Yeah.
But I've still got 2 pictures right there in that stack of him as probably a second grader, smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed him. I really did, along with Brian Carter.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a picture of Brian. He'd gotten in trouble in kindergarten one day, and I guess Francis brought him up or whatever, but I had him sit in the chair out there. Well, when I went out to get him, he was asleep. And I can still see him in his little red jersey and his blue jeans.
Yeah.
And I've shown the picture to him. And for whatever reason, I can't find it now. I hope when, and I'm in the process of packing up because I'm going to have to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that picture will turn up. Also, that's just some of the wonderful memories you got.
Mm-hmm.
I like to, that's why I keep getting the Portland papers and the Westmoreland papers because of this and that. And you see their pictures, and if I can, I will, in today's world, you got phones, I can take a shot of it. And some of them I have, not the kids, but their parents, I'll send them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll see, as you know, Rick Duffer played football for me. And I liked him when he was a kid, and we've become very close friends over the years. And so I'll just send it to him, and he'll see that they get it or whatever. He said a few years ago, what's really funny, my nickname was given to me by a guy named Greg Harper, and this was 25 years ago. We played a lot of golf together, and of course, obviously my last name is Herndon, but it's Herndog, D-O-G. So, and Greg, he gave me that, and it's funny, I had a procedure a couple, 3 weeks ago, and his wife was my nurse, and I told her about that he'd given it. I said, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people call me that anymore, because some of them have passed on, and some of them dropped out of the country club, moved off, whatever, but I have 2 good friends, Rick and Patrick Duffer, still call me Dog. So a few years ago, Rick said, Dog, you're more like their granddaddy than you are their principal.
Yeah. That's a really good compliment. Yes, it is.
Because, I feel that way. And I know I have 2 sons. I have one that I saw come into the world. He's 41, and I have one that was, I guess you'd say was born to me when he was in the 2nd grade. That's when his mother and I started dating. And Kelly and Jean were out here 3 years ago talking about their grandkids. And I said, I'll never be a grandfather. Guy's not interested, and Nick and Hope I don't think are interested. And a week later, Nick called me, and Nick has always called me Terry. He always says, I love you, and I'm a parent. He said, Terry, you're going to be a granddaddy. So that was a wonderful feeling. And it's really wonderful.
They aptly named them grands for sure. Yeah.
And he calls, of course, he's met Guy, and he calls him Uncle Guy. And Guy loves that. He really does. And I showed him, Guy and I we shot a video out here at the side of the building. We were going to go up to see Brennan 2 weeks ago. And that Friday afternoon, Guy was up here, so we shot a video with filming, and Guy saying, "Hi, Brennan," and he waves to him, and I said, "Hey, Brennan, see you tomorrow. We love you." And so the next day, I said, "We'll see Uncle Guy." So he gets still sometimes, and so he was standing there, and he's watching the video so intently, and he's smiling, and then when we wave, he waves back. And then we got him to say, "Hi, Uncle Guy," and I thought that was really neat. But that just goes along with the love that I've had for children. And I will say, too, I always felt like I did a good job with high school kids, and I know I've done a good job with elementary kids. Now, middle school wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. But I told Mr. Hyde one time, Schaefer opened, I think they had 4 principals in 4 years, and Nick was going there. And I kidding Nick, I said, your principal's going to be next year? And he said, "Who?" I said, "Me." And of course, oh, you know how thrilled he was about that and so forth. And then I finally came clean and said, no, I wouldn't. And I told him, oh, it wasn't going to be, that's a joke. But I saw Mr. Hyde the next day or two, and I told him, and he cut me off. He said, I tell you what, if you want it, it's yours. But you need to let me know. I need to know. I said, Mr. Hyde, I was telling you a funny story. I said, because to me, middle school would be a sentence, not an assignment. And it's just it's the problems that kids have at
it's that age, yeah.
Coming to puberty, just the stuff that goes along being that age. I didn't say they were bad. I just said it wasn't my cup of tea. But high school kids, elementary kids, it's been wonderful.
I know you talking about your friendship with Rick Duffer and stuff, and you still avidly follow Westmoreland Eagle football. And a few years ago, or a couple years ago, something like that, a player broke a record that one of your players had held for a long time, Tate Sloan. And you called Mr. Duffer. You wanted to meet Tate for breaking that record. You still love Westmoreland football, no question about it.
It was 6 of the most wonderful years of my life. I didn't realize that at first. I was very much a triple plus personality at that time, and I was so driven to not fail. And fortunately, I had the football players and the coaches not to fail, because once again, the worst team I had record-wise was 5-5, 4-1 in the district. I remember right before Tate broke that record, and I didn't know who he was. I was reading the paper one Sunday morning, and Tate Sloan been named the Player of the Week. And he gained 300 and something yards to break that record. And you know, I was thinking even the week before, I said, I don't know that record will ever be broken. Randy Lynn said it against Watertown in '77. I mean, against a good Watertown team, we beat them 21-0. They were undefeated, we were undefeated, and the rest is history. But I called Rick and I said, I'd like to meet Tate, and I took those pictures down. You got Randy Lynn, Tony Trout, me, and Roger Holmes right there. And so Rick called him to his office, and you know, being an outstanding kid the way that he is, you know, first thing he said, what's wrong, Mr. Duffer? You know? He said, I just wanted you to meet one of my former coaches, Terry Herndon. And I said, son, I just want to come over. And I showed him that picture. I went and told him about all 3 of those guys. I said, I just wanted you to know that they were just kids just like you.
Yeah.
And I congratulated him on breaking the record. And I said, I hope yours stands for, 40 years? 40-something years. So, yeah. I keep up with Portland too. You do have to understand that I spent 6 years of my life at Westmoreland High School coaching. And once again, saying, I told you those 6 of the best years of my life, and they were. Took me a little while to realize that. And Mr. Ruttman and I have been very good friends, and then as things go, sometimes you're not in love with each other as you thought for a while. But then true friends, that always, it comes back around. And so Frank came and visited, and we weren't, you know, we just had, hey, I was young, he was young, so we had some disagreements, you know, but we got over it. We grew up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so he sat in here one day. He was with the SCA, and he wasn't coming up here to investigate anything. He was just, as my uncle used to say, moseying around. And so we had a good talk, and from that day on, we had the greatest friendship once again. And I always told Frank this. Frank would call me when somebody's in the funeral home, you know, and he moved like a butterfly in a tornado, right?
Yeah.
So he said, well, Terry, I got to go. And I said, Frank, let me tell you one more time, once again, thank you for giving a 26-year-old kid a chance. And those were the last words I ever said to him.
Yeah.
But I'd said them many times prior to that night. But once again, as I said earlier, I got a chance. Frank Ruttman, Merrill Hyde, they gave me the 2 biggest breaks that I ever got. But keeping up with it. I keep up with Portland also.
A lot of people don't know that where North Sumner's situated in Oak Grove, when they finish here, 5th grade, part of them go on to Westmoreland, and part of them go on to Portland. So sort of split. So you have kids that I'm sure play football in Portland and things, and Westmoreland too. So yeah, you have to keep up with both of them. I know you do.
Yeah, I like them both.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, that's one reason I won't go to a Portland Westmoreland football game. Because why am I supposed to be against kids that I had, and as you said, meet them at the door and hug them and all that stuff, and then be for the other team. So I'll put myself in that situation.
Yeah. Getting a little bit more lighthearted. Another thing a lot of people don't know about you is that you are probably the world's greatest Hank Williams fan.
Well, I'm a pretty huge Hank Williams fan. Yeah, I don't know why. I remember my mama used to love to sing, and I guarantee that's where I first heard "Hey, Good Looking." Not that she necessarily. I'm sure she thought I was,
Yeah.
But I know I was at Boy Scout camp one summer, and this guy could play the guitar. Gary Cage was his name. Yeah, I told you I don't get much stuff. And at lunchtime, he got his guitar and he got up and he sang "Your Cheating Heart." And I remember going home and about Hank Williams, and I remember going home and I asked Mama, I said, and Daddy, I said, y'all know who Hank Williams was? And well, yeah, But I've always loved his music. I can't say I've always loved traditional country music, although I do have a lot more appreciation for it now. But that's just something that, yes, I've been I don't know I'm the greatest, but I'm an avid Hank fan. Hey, Good Looking is my ringtone.
Yeah.
On my phone.
I know the kids that when that you've done things over the intercom with Hank Williams, and when the Cubs were in the World Series, y'all were Dylan would come home singing "Take Me Out to the Bog."
Yeah. Portia and I did not. She grew up a Cincinnati Reds fan, as her daddy and her brother and most of the family were, because they lived in southern Kentucky, and Cincinnati was the closest thing around, so they were Reds fans. But obviously, I can show you many pictures of us at Wrigley Field, and she and I both in our Cubs outfits. And I'd never been to Chicago to 1990. Oh, excuse me, what am I talking about? 2006. And I went up there for convention, started not to go because I called Bill Johnson. I told him, I said, where ASCD is going to be this year? He said, where? I said, Chicago. He said, I ain't going. It's cold up there. I said, yeah. So I went home, told Portia that afternoon. I said, you know where ASCD is going to be this year? She said, where? I said, Chicago. She said, we're going, aren't we? So I called Bill the next day, and he felt the same way. Hey, let's go. And they're being. But I did tell her, I said, the first thing I want to do, first place I want to see, I want to go to Wrigley Field. As soon as we get checked in, and we did. It was opening weekend, but they were in Cincinnati. But I got to see Wrigley Field because I was more enamored with Wrigley Field than I was the Cubs.
Yeah.
See, the Bears, a lot of people don't know this, but the Bears, that was their home stadium for 50 years. And I recall back in the 60s, you didn't have 10 games a week. You had the game of the week. So you had the NFL on one channel, the AFL on the other channel. So you would see maybe a game, maybe two if you were lucky, on television. But I remember the Bears playing at Wrigley Field, no lights. And so the next summer after 06, we started going to the games, and we've only missed 2 summers since then. I tore my Achilles tendon, and we just couldn't. They didn't have a handicap L station close to where we were going to stay, and I'm glad we didn't go. I had that cast on and all that. Man, it would have been inconvenient and hot. It was really hot that summer, and then COVID knocked us out of getting ill again. But we become big Cubs fans. Old Hank Williams, I've been to two places that he lived in Nashville. He lived out on Franklin Road, and part of that house is still there. It's on the campus of Judson Baptist Church, and I think it's the wing that is Audrey had built onto what they had a ranch-style house that was later moved after his and her death. They moved it to Music Row as a tourist attraction. It's all gone now, but I know Guy and I on the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Nashville, we wanted to go down to Shies Hill, which that was the Confederate right on the last day of the battle. And so we went there, but on the way out Franklin Road, I said, hey, Guy, we're going to stop by Hank's house whether you want to or not. So we pulled in there, and you can drive right up to it now, but there is an Oriental church that either, I think they lease it from Judson, but Guy said, and I'd been out there many times, you know, prior to that day, but not in it. But this is so great. Guy said, I pulled right up almost to the door. He said, Dad, aren't we trespassing? I said, son, all they do is ask us to leave. So I got out, and this Oriental minister came out. He said, you want to see where Hank Williams lived? I said, I sure do. He took us through the house. And then a maintenance guy who had been there for a long time came in, and that was even better because he took us down in the basement and showed us the original paint on the brick walls. They were gold.
Yeah, really?
And it was just really neat. I've still got the article. They had the article. It was in the Nashville, Tennessee magazine section back in the 70s of how in disrepair it had gotten, and then the renovations that they'd done to it. But we got to go all through that, and then giving you a history lesson here. But I'm a Hank fan. Ray Price, who unfortunately a lot of the young kids don't even know who he was, but he and Ray Price lived in a house on Westwood Avenue and Natchez Trace, right on the corner. If you go out West End, you take a left at Vanderbilt Stadium, you go right out there to West End, right there. But I've stood in the front yard of that one too and had my picture taken. Hank lived downstairs, Ray lived upstairs for about 6-8 months. That's about the time after he got fired from the opera, before we went back to Montgomery. But that was interesting. Of course, we've been to the grave site many times in Montgomery. So
yeah, I know. I've had to call you or text you a time or two about some names or artists of some classic country before, so people don't know that about you. Well, wrapping up our talk with you, if you could give your replacement, well, there's no replacement, the person who will take over the job after you, a piece of advice, what would be your best advice? What would be your words of wisdom that you would leave them with?
Well, I'm not saying that any person that would take my place wouldn't have tweaks that they want to do, but you've got, as I have been told, it's a well-oiled machine. Enjoy it. Come in, you got a great faculty staff, you got great support people that are going to help you get the job done. Keep that focused and love the kids as much as I have.
That sounds like really good advice. Well, Mr. Herndon, thank you so much for taking this time to talk with us, and wanted to do this for the community and for everybody to say goodbye. I appreciate it. I remember when I decided I wanted to come to work here, walking in one summer, and I said, Mr. Herndon, do you remember me? And you said, well, yeah, of course I remember you. You were my boss, good boss for 14 years. We had a lot of good times, a lot of good talk. I've seen you in action, in person, and I can tell you, North Sumner has been very blessed to have you as its principal.
Thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you so much, and happy retirement.
Well, thank you, I guess. It will be, and I know I'm very lucky. A lot of people don't make it be 71, and especially have the health that I still have. I did get to play golf yesterday afternoon, and I actually enjoyed it again, you know. With it, as you age, sometimes with injuries and so forth, you don't play to the level you used to. And I wasn't a pro, but you know, couple of my buddies told me several years ago, they said, boy, I wish I could play as good as you. I said, y'all full of it, man. I'm not that good, you know. And then when I got bad, I realized I was pretty good. But, you know, I'm going to play golf, not every day. I'm going to walk. I want to go back. We came from Brewston, Tennessee. And Guy and I went down there last summer. He'd been as a little boy, but he wanted to go back and see some things. And I'd just like to go back. I mean, there's nobody that, you know, it's, somebody said one time, you know, everybody I knew is in the graveyard down there. But still, again, wonderful memories and wonderful people that were my grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and all that. And just things like that. You know, at least you have the freedom to, you know, if I want to go up to Barren River, because I love that golf course up there, but if I did, you know, if I just want to go up and, you know, I was telling somebody the other day about their putting green is right outside the clubhouse. It's surrounded by pine trees. And I said, I can remember some of the most peaceful times when I was having a bad day at beach, and I just take the day off the next day because I was sick. So, but I remember being out there and hearing the wind whistle through the pines and smelling the pine needles. How wonderful and how calming that was. And then when I went back to the beach the next day, I was a rejuvenated person. But as being retired, there's a lot of things I can do, and I will enjoy it. I already see, as I said a while ago, but Dr. Phillips and Scott Langford had a conversation, I don't know, with Amanda Rippey or it got to her. They said, you know, a lot of times when people retire, sometimes they're a little reluctant at first, but then once they see what they don't have to do anymore, they get a little more excited. So as each day goes on, I can get a little bit more excited about things that I, you know, it's not that I've ever minded necessarily, but you know, you don't have to, as I said earlier, you don't have to do the trainings and the implementation and all that. But that is the advice I would give the person who is lucky enough to take my place is hold it in the road and love the kids as much as I have.
Thank you so very much, and we wish you all the best in retirement.
Thank you very much. Thank you once again. If I left anybody out, I'm sorry. It was not intentional. And I would let me leave you with this. A few years ago, we went to a visitation in Portia's hometown, Burkesville, Kentucky. And one of her classmates came up and he was talking with her, and she didn't readily introduce me. So I introduced myself. He said, well, I didn't introduce you. I figured you knew him. You know everybody else. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Casey, Sherry, thank you.